What do you mean moving beyond observability into understandability? What's that difference between simply observing a system, monitoring the system, and truly understanding what's happening inside? Why do you think that shift is so crucial for modern IT today?
I think of it as that the tools we make are observability tools today, but it can never be the goal of our business to provide observability. The goal of our business as a vendor and as a partner with our customers is to give them understandability.
Let's shift gears a bit. I want to look at the practical applications. Are there any specific trends that you're seeing that highlight the tangible benefits of this AI-powered approach for businesses today?
So we think about the way that New Relic uses AI. AI does present this new interface. And the same way that we present data on the web, New Relic was never a product that you had to install yourself and run on your own systems. We delivered it via SaaS. What we've found is that everybody is now you're using a bunch of different systems as a software developer, as an operations engineer. What we've done is we've taken all of our data, all of our systems, and we've exposed them via those. So you can interact with New Relic, interact with your data without ever going to our website. And just the same way I might type in newrelic.com into a web browser, I can just go to Copilot and say, hey, I want to see my New Relic data.
Welcome to Tech Transformed, the podcast exploring the people and technologies shaping enterprise tech today. My name is Christina Stathopoulos, and I will be your host today. After building out an advanced analytics career in big tech, I am now the founder of Dare to Data, on a mission to help individuals and corporations take the next step in their data and AI journey. In this episode, joining us is Nic Benders, the Chief Technical Strategist at New Relic, and we're going to be talking about AI-powered observability, exploring how AI is transforming the way organizations monitor and understand their complex technical systems, moving beyond this traditional observability to achieve true understandability. So welcome to the show, Nic. It's great to have you. So thanks for joining us. Before we dive in, could you introduce yourself? Tell us about what you and your team do over at New Relic.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So New Relic is a observability company. And so we provide, tools that help everybody who works with software see inside their systems and understand what it is that they're doing. As the Chief Technical Strategist, I work with our teams across the company and help make sure that we are building to the world that's coming into view, because the problems that our customers are going to be facing next year, 2 years, 3 years from now, are the things that we want to be helping them solve today.
Perfect. Well, fantastic. I'm looking forward to diving more into this topic of observability with you. So to kick things off, Nic, for those who might be less familiar, let's start with the basics. Could you begin by explaining what observability is in the context of IT systems, and perhaps touch upon how it has traditionally been approached?
Sure. So I've been in the industry now for, about 30 years. And so when I started, we used to call this monitoring. And the idea of, everybody understands basic monitoring. You're like, well, I've got this piece of software, this piece of hardware, and I want to know, is it working? Like, is it on? And so you could think of it initially as just that kind of like that green light on the front of the machine that tells you, yeah, it's on, we're good. But what we realized is that as the systems became more complex, as the software that we build became this mesh of different pieces, it wasn't ever really that helpful to just know, is it on? Is it answering a web server, port? Is the system running? You want to know, is it doing what it's supposed to do? So the idea behind observability is that we should be, instead of just putting a light on the outside of a piece of equipment, we kind of want to take the sides off of it and make it out of glass so we can observe what's happening inside of that equipment and look at all of those details and say, oh, users are coming in. Where do they go when they come in? Are they having a good experience? When the page that they're viewing is slow, is that page coming back as a database issue, or is it a network issue that's causing it to be slow? Is it spending a lot of time computing? What are those elements that are driving the user experience, and what is that user experience? So to do that, we had to go beyond the simple concept of monitors where you just connect to something and see if it's running, and actually change the software itself. So enter into those software and make it expose all of the important details and collect those into one place, whether that was log lines that developers had put there when they were building the software, whether it was external checks like a synthetics pinger that comes in from above and tells you like whether the site's running, or the actual instrumentation of the application and the hardware or the cloud resources themselves being pulled in. And so merging together that metric data, that event data, that log data to give you that complete picture.
Okay, that makes sense. So giving you the full picture and not just relying on like you said, a red light or a green light. This is working. This isn't. You want to break it down, make it into a glass box, like you said. Look into it and understand what's happening here, or monitor.
That's exactly right.
What's happening, right?
Yeah, because you want to the end goal isn't observability at all. Observability, right, is that glass box instead of that black box. But what you really want to achieve is you want to achieve understanding. My goal as a tooling vendor is to help software engineers and operations engineers understand what their systems are doing. And this is very different than just seeing the data. It's, I want to go from that and say, oh, this is why that happens. This is what is happening.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And even I slipped up before because we were talking about monitoring and I said understanding. It's like a natural for me. I would want to not just monitor the system, but you want to understand it. So it's like this natural next step, right? So we're getting into understandability, right? And you've already mentioned a little bit of it. Can you unpack it a little bit more for us? I mean, what do you mean moving beyond observability into understandability? What's that difference between simply, observing a system, monitoring the system, and truly understanding what's happening inside? And also, why do you think that shift is so crucial for modern IT today?
Yeah, when I think about, the whole industry, we all call ourselves observability. It's the brand that's been put on the work that we do. But I actually think as a name, it leaves a lot, to be desired, because it's just talking about this link in the chain. We say, oh, well, that system's observable. Great. But do you actually understand what it's doing? And so I think of it as that the tools we make are observability tools today. But it can never be the goal of our business to provide observability. The goal of our business as a vendor and as a partner with our customers is to give them understandability. And I think that the difference there is that it shows up really well in a complex system. And you can imagine, if you sit down at the desk of a nuclear power plant or something, you could see every feature happening, like that millions of blinking lights, all those screens. But do you understand what's going on? Without being an expert in that system. And so we used to treat software systems the same way. And we would say, oh, here's a dashboard. It's got 1,000 little charts on it. It's got, the green lights, the red lights, the gauges, everything you need. It's like walking up to that nuclear power plant. And it's fine because you, the person who are operating the software, are the world expert in it. You've built this software. You know everything about it. Those gauges mean something to you. But today, no piece of software is really built by one person. And often you're being asked to modify, to operate, to be responsible for software that you might not even have been a part of writing. And so when you walk up to that wall, you've got observability, but you don't have understanding anymore because it's too much to ask that you would have a working model in your head of every piece of software that you're going to run into. So I see that our job is to help you build that, to understand something that you've never seen before by sitting down, seeing not just the raw data, but also what it means in context. Oh, this system is connected to this system. This is what this one does. This is what this one does. You're seeing the latency on that, call. It's higher than it normally is. That latency is correlated with this other thing. And so understandability is going far beyond just observing the system and into really educating and telling the person who's interacting with it why.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I've followed the field of observability for a long time. I don't know why I've thought about we need to almost rethink it completely, because what you're saying makes sense. It's not just that you want to observe, you want to monitor the system, you want the red, yellow, green light, but you want to understand essentially what is happening here. You want to have more explanation behind it. Now, with this vision of understandability in mind, where does artificial intelligence fit in? I mean, how does it come into the picture? How does AI allow organizations to move beyond these limitations of the past approaches and achieve a much deeper level of insight into their complex technical systems?
Yeah, AI is really interesting in our industry in particular because it's both creating a problem and offering a bit of a solution to that problem. That sensation I described where you're walking up to a system, but maybe you didn't write it, AI is supercharging this. So now we're entering a world where people are working in collaboration with AI to build software. So when you go see a new piece of software, maybe it's not just that you didn't write it. Maybe no one at your organization wrote it because no human uniquely wrote this. It was written by collaboration with some humans and some AI agents. Well, I can't just tap the AI agent on the shoulder and ask it how it was supposed to work. They don't work that way today. Maybe in the future, they can describe, those things better for us. But right now, it's kind of fire and forget for them. And the software's been written. We have to instead look from the outside in to figure out what it's doing and why it's doing this thing that we presumably don't expect it to do. Or just to validate, is it doing the things that we expect it to do? Not just the technical things, but the business things. If it's a shopping cart, am I showing people the right, things? And are we achieving our checkouts? Are we doing that as a business outcome? Is the purpose for our software to exist? And now we really need to approach the whole problem from scratch when we're working in collaboration with AI. We're also seeing an increase in volume that as engineers are able to put more software out, we're going to have more software in the world. And so as an operations engineer, you're going to be facing even more software simultaneously. You're going to be facing rapid rates of change. As a software developer, you're being asked to work, in collaboration with these opaque technology tools. So it creates a lot of, agita and very reasonable problems that engineers are now being asked to face. So that's the kind of problem side of AI in our industry. The good news is that the tools do also offer us solutions. Those that jump from observing to understanding is a lot about putting that context back in, mixing together things like I said, what's the business purpose of this? What are, the ways that things relate? Have there been changes? We've been able to apply statistical techniques for asking questions about changes and things like that for decades. There's a lot of really good work that's been done in, determining baseline, deviations and variance and things like that. But it's been very hard to make the kind of smart decisions that even a relatively junior engineer could make, where they look at it, they're like, yeah, that looks pretty normal. Or they say, oh, this system has this name and this is the team that's working on it. So I know where to look for some information. I bet you I understand what it does. I've heard of this. It was in a incident report that I read 6 months ago. I remember somebody said that this configuration caused this problem, and the thing I'm seeing right now that reminds me of that. Those types of simple inferences are the types of tasks that AI has moved into the machine like playing field. Previously, there were human-only tasks. It was very hard to make a search engine that would infer meaning. But using AI techniques, it's a lot easier to reattach that unstructured human context into the structured, telemetry and observability data. So the opportunity is to take AI and not put it necessarily in the driver's seat for observing and understanding, but use it as the glue that's able to put together this unstructured human context, these like histories and stuff like that, and make these fuzzy inferences that we previously had to rely on humans for, and to do it at scale, that we can read every incident report for everything that was done in your entire company and have a perfect recall of all the ones that remind our system of this current problem. We can look at every connection between the systems and look back at the history for the last, year and say, oh, this data pattern reminds us of this other data pattern. Why don't we look at this? And I think that power of doing some of the things that humans have done well, maybe not quite as well as humans do them, but doing them at scale across every document, across every signal, across every system, that can give us a lot of power in going from that observing phase to the understanding phase in a real repeatable manner that you can use across your business.
Yeah, I mean, we can't compete with the kind of scale and speed that AI can do in these cases. And are you talking more about like generative AI capabilities, analytical AI capabilities, a bit of a mix of both?
I really see a mix of both. I think that there's a lot of focus on, when people say AI, often they mean large language models. And large language models are fantastic. And we've seen a ton of advances in them in the last 3-4 years. And we use them in, New Relic, and we use them for things like, linking your documentation through and kind of increasing the ways that you can interact with the system. So it's not just AI generating analysis or answers or summaries, but it's also presenting New Relic's, systems within AI tools. So when you go to GitHub Copilot, where you're already working, you say, oh, well, I'm going to ask a question of my production data out of my system because New Relic is connected to GitHub Copilot or connected to Google Gemini or connected to ServiceNow's AI systems. And so, that LLM and chatbot interface, it's a new interface for us, similar to the way mobile created a new interface for the way that people want to interact with their systems, when the iPhone kind of brought that revolution through. But it's a lot beyond that. So in addition to the generative AIs and the LLM, tooling, we do a lot of fancy statistics. Like I mentioned, baseline deviation, novelty detection, correlation. And some of that, it's like this fuzzy line. It's like, well, is that just math or is that, intelligence? And I think that we've got some neural net powered systems that we would call intelligence. We've got some statistical ones that we would just say is math, but it really is a fuzzy line.
Yeah, I can relate with that. I come from a statistics background, and now with everything happening in the AI analytics data science world, everything becomes a fuzzy line. Now, I like, by the way, I wanted to highlight, I love how you said that AI has brought on both challenges and opportunities, because I see this happening in a lot of different spaces too. It's happening with you all. I see it like in cybersecurity, for example. It presents a lot of problems today, but it offers solutions. So I see that kind of pattern happening a lot. Now, let's shift gears a bit. I want to look at the practical applications. Could you share some insights into how New Relic is leveraging AI specifically in their observability solutions? You've already hinted to a bit of it already as well. And also to add on to that, like a second part of the question would be, are there any specific trends that you're seeing that highlight the tangible benefits of this AI-powered approach for businesses today? What do you see as like the biggest opportunities moving forward?
So we think about the way that New Relic uses AI. I think first and foremost, this important idea that AI does present this new interface. And the same way that we present data on the web, it's not, New Relic was never a product that you had to install yourself and run on your own systems. We delivered it via SaaS. It was meant to be really easy. You just go to the website, You like see your data right away and it's there in your browser. You didn't have to like jump into a separate tool. And what we've found is that everybody is now still, you're using a bunch of different systems as a software developer, as an operations engineer. And a big one of that is you're now using these chat tools like Copilot that I mentioned earlier, Gemini, Amazon Q Business, ServiceNow, all of these ways that AI systems and chat systems in particular are being put into your workflow. And so what we've done is we've taken all of our data, all of our systems, and we've exposed them via those. So you can interact with New Relic, interact with your data without ever going to our website. And just the same way I might type in newrelic.com into a web browser, I can just go to Copilot and say, hey, I want to see my New Relic data. And it is a separate channel for us to interact with users. And the interaction in a chat system is, of course, different than in a web system, but the data is the same underlying data. We're still talking about your systems. We're still trying to bring you that understanding. And so it's been this important new channel for us. Then behind that, what happens within our environment is we've got agents who can help direct questions into different types of engines. And then we've got that mix of generative AI and statistical methods and just good old-fashioned expertise. We've used the term intelligent observability to describe that shift from kind of traditional observability into the understanding world. In intelligent observability, it's got, that I in it. And so everyone says, oh, it's AI. I'm like, yeah, AI is a piece of it. And AI is what allows us to do it. But AI isn't the edge of it. It's not everything there. It's like AI is that gateway that connects the human questions, that connects that unstructured data and glues everything together. So that I would say is the second big way that we're using AI is as that glue between structured and unstructured, between Google documents with your root cause analysis in them and, telemetry data. Between, the team names and mappings. And so like making those inferences easier and allowing us to map questions to the right types of solution engines within our platform. And then the third way that we're using AI is, I think, what a lot of people thought it would be, which is just trying to give you those better answers. And so performing a automated, correlation analysis, trying to surface root causes and things like that. And in particular, we're focused on the incident response part of, our job. And so use observability, use New Relic for lots and lots of things. Like there's never a bad day to understand your systems better. And so, I'm still a big user and I, log in every day. And generally the questions I'm asking are just like, how's growth? How are our new users? Are the features being adopted? Like, is there anything weird that I'm seeing? So there's kind of just exploration. But when seconds really count, when everything is urgent is during an incident. So if there's a disruption in your service and you want to jump on it, if you can shorten a response time from 15 minutes to 5 minutes, that's a huge victory. And so that's the place where we see the most leverage for those tools that are attempting to guide and collaborate along with the users. So when people are coming in to a highly chaotic environment, they need that understanding, they need it fast. And so that's the place where you see a lot of our applications of, I think, what you would traditionally have thought of as AI technologies.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And because it can move so fast, like you said, every second counts, and AI can help uncover these incidents, help figure out what's happening, and very, very fast. Now, let's bring all of this to life. Could you share a real world use case, like walk us through what a difference it has made for one of your clients to adopt this AI powered observability, understandability into their workflow?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we have a lot of different customers that we work with who are picking this up. What I want to really call like a specific story on is I just loved this story, when I was talking to the customer. This is a company, Global Processing. We've worked with them for a long time. And it's really important for them that they've got correctness, that they've got quick resolution of any disruptions, and they're able to put these tools in place for their whole development team. So the tools that they've had in front of them for a long time, what they found was they weren't integrated. They were difficult for people to use. And so, when they came and they adopted New Relic's AI tooling, they used New Relic AI to replace a lot of disjoint tools and to kind of democratize the way that observability was done within their company so that everybody had access to it. You didn't need a lot of special training. Regardless of your role, you could go in, you could get access to this data. And what they found was that by doing this, they were able to make a reduction in their total time to resolution by 30% for their highest priority issues. And a 30% reduction in issues is a huge jump. And it's the kind of thing that can save you, in your business, can be worth millions. It can be worth a lot to your customers. And when they looked at all incidents, it was an even bigger reduction. And so for when you took that big picture of incident times, time reduction went down over 75%. And for the most critical ones, a 30% reduction. And I love this result because we've often told people that the key to getting that time to resolution speed is about, does everyone know what to do? Can you work as a team? Can you see the information? And this is a great example to show how using the AI interface allowed more people to interact with the tools. Once the people are interacting with the tools, then you get that business result. And it's not about latency, although we have seen latency improvements. We work with Mercado Libre, is a huge e-commerce platform. And they use New Relic and they use these AI tools to track their error rates and to really bring down response times. But the global processing story is about that almost where it matters the most. It's that critical incident response and getting that time down.
Perfect. Well, that's a good example. Before we wrap things up, I've got one final question for you. So if you could summarize one takeaway in 60 seconds from our conversation today for CIOs, CTOs, other IT decision makers, what would it be and why?
AI story isn't fully written yet. And the biggest takeaway in our whole industry right now that everybody has to be aware of is that we're not sure where this is going. And so right now, everybody is looking at these opportunities and saying, oh, well, maybe I can make my developers much more effective. I can say, oh, can I get more work done with the people I have now? Can we do things that we couldn't do before? There's also a lot of people, especially engineers, who are looking at this with a lot of fear and saying, I don't like the way this is going. Is this mean smaller teams? This is a totally new tool set that I've got to learn. I'm seeing these, study results saying maybe it actually slows people down. There's am I going to lose my job to AI? There's a lot of trepidation about it. And what I generally tell people is we live in an industry that is always changing. It has changed a ton over the last 3 decades. It's going to change a ton more over the next 3. And that we have to always be in a position where we're getting ready for change, getting ready for the unknown. And that means looking a little bit realistically at what are those problems that new tools are causing. Cloud was not without costs. Microservices did make it harder to debug distributed systems. Containers did change our tools. AI will also make life harder for us in some ways, as well as it gives us capabilities. So don't lose sight of their very real downsides, but don't let them overwhelm you. And instead say, well, what do I need in order to deal with an unknown system? And so whether it's working with New Relic or with your business tools, whatever it is, have that visibility, focus on that, what do I need to understand something that's unknown? Because I think a lot of unknown is coming over the next few decades, and we shouldn't be surprised. That's always been the nature of our business.
I think that makes a lot of sense. We need to get comfortable with change, with uncertainty, with the unknown, as difficult as it might sound. We do, and I agree with this advice. So thank you so much, by the way, Nic, for joining us today. I've loved learning more about AI-powered observability, even exploring this realm of understandability with you. Also, thank you to everyone listening. We hope you took a lot away from today's podcast. For further information on what we've talked about, please head over to newrelic.com. New, N-E-W, Relic, R-E-L-I-C.com. We'll be back next week with another episode in our podcast series. Until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms and follow the conversation on our socials at EM360 Tech on X and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, head on over to em360tech.com.